Aloha from Honolulu. Welcome to this webinar, which is part of the East-West Center Research Speaker Series, a recurring program that spotlights emerging developments across the region, exploring the environmental, demographic, political, and economic processes that are reshaping the Asia-Pacific region. Our speaker today is Dr. Hackyoung Bae. He is an associate professor at the Department of Military Strategy, as well as Director of the Center for Military Strategy Studies in the Research Institute of National Security Affairs in Korea Defense University. Dr. Bae's topic is ROK Shipbuilding Industry and the U.S. ROK Alliance. Our format today will be starting with a lecture of about 30 and 40 minutes, which will be followed by a question and answer session in which we'll invite our virtual audience to submit questions. You can do that by clicking at the Q&A icon near the bottom of your screen, which will open a dialog box. You type in your question and then submit it to us. We'll try to get to as many questions as possible. Dr. Bae.
Okay, let me share the screen first. Can you see my screen? Okay. Good morning, Korea, and good afternoon over there, Hawaii. First of all, thank you for Dr. Roy, for kind introduction. I'm going to talk about the ROK shipbuilding industry and the ROK-US Alliance. Actually, this is the part of the big government project for Minister of National Defense, which is the South Korea's defense strategy under the second Trump administration. I hope at the end of this presentation, I made some policy suggestion for the South Korean government. I hope that works. We will see. This day, thanks to the Trump tariff policy, every country to go to the United States and decided to invest in the United States. For example, TSMC, $165 billion, and Ichiba $1 trillion. And Hyundai Group Chairman Chung Il-sung announced $21 billion investment in the United States. And even the Mexican president, Sheinbaum, moved 10,000 troops to the border to control the Mexican immigrant and fentanyl trafficking. So many countries go to the United States, and this is my card to offset or to reduce the tariff. My question is what is South Korea's card to negotiate with the United States? Back then, when the Trump met Zelensky at the White House, he said, you got to be thankful you don't have the card. So at this moment, South Korea needed to come up with some card we can negotiate with the United States. So one of the emphasis under the second Trump administration is the rehabilitation of the manufacturing industry in the United States. So I laid out and I made a table of the top 5 South Korea's manufacturing industry. And I compared the rank of the South Korea in that category with that of the United States. Among these top 5 manufacturing industry, shipbuilding is the only category South Korea is superior to the United States. So I am thinking we can use the shipbuilding industry as a card to negotiate in the United States. Shipbuilding market share. Back then, South Korea in early 2000, South Korea was the #1 shipbuilding industry. But now, China is #1. Even if you look at the market share, China's market share in the shipbuilding market is more than 60%. And in South Korea, even though we are #2, South Korea's market share is 20%-ish. And Japan is a little bit less than 10%, which means United States cannot ask China to build the United States naval ship. And United States cannot ask Japan either because Japan is not capable enough to make extra naval ships for the United States. So South Korea is the best alternative in terms of the building of naval ships. The shipbuilding and the maritime MRO are on the national agenda. The Admiral Stephen Kohler, commander of the U.S. Navy's Pacific Fleet, visited the maintenance site of the Welishera ship undergoing maintenance at Goja plant last year. And right after Trump was elected as the president-elect, he called the South Korean president and asked for the help from the shipbuilding industry. And this year, when the South Korea's Chief of National Security Council visited the United States, he said the shipbuilding industry will deal between two countries and SSC. So I'm not a social media person, but after the Trump was elected, I started using the Truth Social. This is one of the Trump's posting on the Truth Social. He said, I just had a great call with the acting president of South Korea. Just at the time we had acting president, we will have the real president next month. And he said, we talked about their tremendous and unsustainable surplus tariff, shipbuilding, large-scale purchase of U.S. LNG, and payment for the big-time military protection, and so on. Among these cards and negotiation topics, shipbuilding is the only thing South Korea can use as a card to negotiate with the United States. The last month, South Korea Minister of the Commerce and the Treasury visited the United States to meet with the Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent. And after the talk, Scott Bessent said, the South Korea came with their A game, which is South Korea outlined a detailed vision for bilateral collaboration in shipbuilding industry. And he is thinking the card South Korea has is the shipbuilding industry. Now we can talk. ROK-US cooperation is already hot. The South Korea already delivered Welishera, a logistics support ship, to the United States Navy 2 months ago after 6 months MRO service. And United States Navy's ship, the logistics support ship Yukon, is under MRO service. Additionally, recently, a U.S. Navy Department official contacted the South Korean Defense Acquisition Program Administration to propose additional MRO project of U.S. Navy Ocean Survey Vessel and Maritime Surveillance Vessel. So why the MRO of the U.S. naval ship and the building a U.S. naval ship is important for the United States? This is my educated hunch. The next 10 years will be the world order centered on fossil fuel. The left picture shows the talks for the ceasefire in Ukraine without Ukraine. And there are 3 countries, United States and Saudi Arabia and Russia. These 3 countries are coincidentally top 3 oil producing countries. They are talking about the world order after the Ukraine war. This scene reminds me the Yalta Conference. At the Yalta Conference, three countries talked about the world order after World War II: the United Kingdom, United States, and Soviet Union. So these top three oil producing countries talked about the world order after the Ukraine war. And if you look at the maritime traffic, half of the vessels are delivering fossil fuel. So for these three countries, maritime security is very important. So United States is competing with the China at maritime security. So I just compared two countries' naval power in terms of the number of naval ships and in terms of the age of the naval ships. Left chart shows the number of the two countries' naval ships. Red line represents the China's naval ships. Into 2024, the number of the China's naval ship already exceed that of the United States, and the gap between two countries is getting wider. And right side, the box plot shows the average and distribution of each country's naval ship's age. On average, in aircraft carrier, submarine, destroyer, amphibious ships, United States naval ships are much older than that of the China, which means United States naval ships need more MRO service, maintain, repair, and overhaul service. At the same time, need more new ships to replace the old ship. What about the Northern Sea route? Thanks to the global warming, in next 5 or 6 years, we might be able to use the Northern Sea route. In the meantime, we need this icebreaker to develop North Sea route. But if you look at the left side, the cumulative bar chart, the Russia's icebreaker is number 109, but the United States just 3. Fortunately, South Korea operating the icebreaker right now, and second icebreaker is under construction. It will be completed in 2027, and the South Korea is capable to build the icebreaker, and South Korea is willing to build the icebreaker for the United States. Recently, President Trump announced that he will purchase 40 icebreakers. So which country should build the icebreaker? I think the South Korea. What about the United States manufacturing capability? Left graph shows the manufacturing proportion of the GDP over time. United States keeps decreasing in terms of the manufacturing proportion of GDP over time. China's keeps increasing over time. So shipbuilding industry is not just one side of manufacturing industry. That's multifaceted. Basically, you can build a ship in a very strong manufacturing country. So again, United States cannot ask China to build the naval ship, but United States cannot ask the other allies to build a naval ship either, because the other Australia, Germany, Japan's manufacturing power is decreasing as well. Among the United States allies, South Korea is the number 1 manufacturing country. From this policy suggestion to the South Korean government. So now, even though South Korea, we just provided an MRO service for the US Navy, but the ships we are providing the MRO service are non-combatant ship. At the end of the day, we have to provide some MRO service for the United States combat destroyer. For that MRO service, United States asked South Korea more security and protection. So for that, I insist we South Korea have to establish more MRO infrastructure, not in the civil ports, but in the military ports. I conducted the alternative analysis among the military port in South Korea. I just suggested Jine Naval Base. When I compare each bases in terms of the MRO convenience, security, anti-air protection, Chinese stimulus, and resident opposition. Second policy suggestion is ROK Navy should give the South Korean Aegis ship to the South Korean shipyard for the MRO service, so that South Korean shipyard have some experience for the MRO service for Aegis combat system equipped destroyer, which is we wanted to provide the MRO service. So King's Hackyoung class is equipped to the United States Aegis combat system. We have 3 ships. So the Navy should give this King's Hackyoung class Aegis destroyer to the South Korean civilian shipyard for MRO service before the South Korean civilian shipyard apply for the MRO of the United States Naval Aegis class destroyer. And third, this is the kind of opportunity for the South Korea to install United States high-end facilities in Korea, because United States Navy operates the U.S. Naval Ship Repair Facility and Japan Regional Maintenance Center in Japan. They installed so many high-end facilities in Japan to repair their ship in Japan. So we can do the same thing by providing the MRO service to the United States Naval ship in Korea. The fourth, it is necessary to establish the integrated MRO volume management system. Obviously, that's good opportunity for the South Korea to have the United States Naval ship for the MRO service, but we've already had the South Korean Navy's MRO volume, and we are exporting so many combat ships to the Southeast Asia and Europe. We have to provide the MRO service to them too. So, but at the same time, we have a very limited capability and capacity to provide the MRO service. So we needed to plan evenly over time the MRO service in the South Korea. So for that, it is necessary to establish an integrated MRO volume management system in Korea. And I suggested maritime MRO and maritime cooperation between ROK and US should be approached at the national level. So already, just as I mentioned, the South Korea's chief of the National Security Council said it's going to be dealt between 2 countries and NSC. So it's already accepted by the government. So I should eliminate the 5th one. Okay, the last one, caveat. this is the again, this is the policy suggestion for the South Korea. This is one of the other Trump post on Truth Social. There are no tariff if you manufacture or build your product in the United States, which means I don't need your product, but I need your technology, manpower, and capital in the United States soil. So recently, Hana Ocean bought Philly Shipyard in the United States, but which for the South Korean government, it should be careful. Just our just technology and manpower and capital in United soil. Just once we modernize that shipyard, maybe United States does not need the South Korean shipbuilding capability anymore. So that's the one of the caveat I gave to the South Korean government. Okay, this is all I prepared for today's presentation. I look forward to the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bae. We're now opening our question and answer segment. So I invite people viewing to send in your questions. First, Dr. Bae, in case some of the viewers found your slideshow interesting, is there a way that they can get access to it, download some of those slides?
No, I didn't download it online. Just email me. I leave my email address. I'm gonna reply attaching the PPT slide.
Okay, so if you're interested, please email Dr. Bae. The email address should be available.
Where should I type my email address?
If we could put it in the question and answer section where the entire audience could see it. I think our staff can work on that. In the meantime, let me ask you kind of a political question.
Political question.
One of the implications of South Korea becoming an important hub for the maintenance and repair of U.S. ships, possibly even during a conflict, possibly during a U.S.-China conflict, would be that South Korea would make itself a more attractive target for Chinese attacks. And so the round up with the issue of South Korea playing more of a maintenance and repair role for the United States is the factoring in of this risk of perhaps drawing South Korea into a U.S.-China conflict, a greater risk than before. And how is this playing politically in South Korea?
Actually, that's a very good question. That's the question related to the alliance dilemma, because we always have some kind of a dilemma, alliance dilemma between abandonment and entanglement with the conflict my alliance is related to. For example, South Korea wanted to be a valuable alliance to the United States so that United States does not abandon South Korea when North Korea invaded South Korea. At the same time, doesn't want it to get entangled with some conflict. United States is related to, for example, the great rivalry or the conflict with China. So we wanted to make their alliance with the United States stronger, not to be abandoned when we are attacked by the North Korea. At the same time, that strengthening the alliance between South Korea and the United States make more likely to be involved in the conflict United States is involved. So that's kind of a dilemma. So by using the shipbuilding industry, we wanted to strengthen the tie with the United States and strengthen the alliance between South Korea and the United States so that we are not abandoned in the time of a war in Korean Peninsula. But like you said, we might be the target of the China when the conflict or the crisis between two big countries is escalated. So that's kind of a dilemma. But at this moment, we wanted to strengthen the alliance with the United States by using the shipbuilding capability. But I don't think the China will attack the South Korean shipyard only because South Korea provides the MRO service for the United States naval power or the ship. But we might think some scenario where the China invaded Taiwan and the United States intervened that conflict with the United States naval force, and we repair the United States naval ship, which intervened in that conflict. Then a little bit different scenario in that scenario, but other than that, just I don't think the China will attack the South Korean shipyard only because we provide an MRO for the United States naval ship.
Yep. For those of you who want a copy of Dr. Bae's slides, you can email him directly. The email address is Hackyoung, spelled just the same way it is on the announcement for this webinar, Hackyoung, no spaces, @gmail.com. Next question. This goes a bit beyond your immediate subject, but perhaps you can answer it. What is the U.S. investment with this current administration in naval defense systems? I presume that means protecting ships. And how does it compare to the previous administration, U.S. administration?
What is the U.S. investment with this administration in the naval defense, and how does it compare? What is U.S. investment with this?
So it seems to be comparing the Biden and Trump administrations in investment in defense systems for U.S. ships, if I read it correctly.
Yeah.
That may be beyond the scope of your expertise.
But I'm not sure if I understand correctly. Just correct me if I understand differently. Just I don't think the Navy's insecurity in comparison to the China is not a Trump administration's problem. That's a long period of time. Just so United States has been neglecting investing in the naval defense system for a long time. That's why we are observing the inferiority of the U.S. Navy in comparison to the China. But this administration, I've checked. One of my research topic is to look at the CRS report or the budget-related official document, how much the Trump administration invests in the shipbuilding industry or naval defense system. That will, but my hunch is they invest more for the naval defense system or the shipbuilding industry than the Biden administration. But it takes time. You cannot build the Navy in a day. So in the meantime, you need some the other place to build your ship or to repair your ship. That's South Korea. That's what I'm saying. Even though you are investing more, in that industry, but you cannot increase that capability in a day. In the meantime, but the US-China competition is right now the imminent threat. So for that, you need some place to repair your ship right now.
Yeah, building a shipyard and then staffing it with people who know what they're doing must take, I would imagine, 7 or 8 years or a decade. Yes?
Yeah. Oh, recently just Hana Ocean bought Philly Shipyard, which is the very new, relatively new, brand new shipyard in the United States, which is 30 years old. So,
Yeah, much work to do. Next question. When you discuss the shipbuilding industry in South Korea, how much of the effort was directed at military ships versus commercial container ships?
oh, that's a good question. Just actually, there is no proportion between the commercial and military. They can use the shipbuilding capability accordingly. When they have more order for the military naval ship, they can expand the proportion of a military naval ship because they can use the same port and batch or the people to build the ship. So
would you say most shipyards in South Korea could build either military or commercial ships?
yes,
And same for repair and maintenance?
yes. And for the time of a war, we just distribute the order to each shipyard so that in the wartime, every shipyard can build the naval warship.
Thank you. Could you talk more about the icebreaker situation? I think particularly the disparity between the number of icebreakers the US operates versus Russia or even China.
Yeah. Recently, Trump wanted to conquer the island. Just at first, I was curious. Why the island covered with the ice?
Greenland, right?
Greenland.
Yeah.
Greenland.
Maybe Ireland is next, but for now it's Greenland.
Yeah. Oh, so when I look at the pace of the ice melting in the northern pole, that's relatively faster than I thought. So we might be able to use the northern route in 5 or 6 years. So in the meantime, we needed to develop the northern route by using the icebreaker. But as you can see in the bar charts, the United States have among three icebreakers, one is under construction or in service. As far as I know, there's only one icebreaker in service. So with the northern pole and the northern sea route is very important to reach from the United States to Europe. And you don't have to worry about the East China Sea and South China Sea, Malacca Strait, or the Suez Canal anymore if you navigate through the northern pole. So that will weaken the geopolitical strength of the China by using a northern sea route. So it's very important for the United States to use the northern sea route. So for developing this northern sea route, you need some icebreaker at this moment.
Have you had an opportunity to share your suggestions with South Korean government officials And if so, have they been receptive to your ideas?
I don't know. I've already reported this police suggestion to the South Korean government, but I don't know if they accepted it or just they apply this police suggestion to their actual policy. But after the next month presidential election, I think the negotiation between two countries will begin for the practical result. So at the time, we will see. We will see.
There's a lot of discussion about China getting increasingly close to possibly making a decision to move militarily against Taiwan. How is that possibility, that prospect, affecting the strategic discussion in South Korea?
Actually, I'm not a expert of the China or the Taiwan or the possibility China will invade the Taiwan, but so many high-level officers and reports published from the United States prestigious research institutions are saying China will invade the Taiwan in 2027-ish. At the same time, last year, just the United States Navy released their the strategic book navigation plan. The purpose of the whole book is they will get the United States Navy ready for the war or the conflict with China in 2027. So I don't know the possibility, but the United States is saying that China will invade the Taiwan in 2027. So from the South Korean perspective, we are not interested in that conflict itself, but we are interested in how the conflict affects on the South Korean economy, at the same time, how that conflict affects on the South Korean United States alliance. For example, if United States asks the South Korea to play the role as an ally in terms of the United States intervention in that conflict, what should we do? And additionally, if the United States mobilize the U.S. force in South Korea to intervene the Taiwan Strait conflict, what should we do? That might give the wrong signal to the North Korea for the North Korea's opportunistic behavior. So we are thinking about this kind of a scenario, which is not directly related to the conflict itself, but how would that conflict affect the South Korean situation in terms of the economy and the ROK-US alliance. So that's one of my research topic. So what is the South Korea's strategy or the policy towards that conflict and United States intervention in that conflict?
That would be a great topic for another webinar. I should interject here that Xi Jinping has told the Chinese People's Liberation Army to be ready to use military force against Taiwan if necessary by the 100th anniversary of the founding of the People's Liberation Army, which anniversary would be in 2027. The current Indo-Pacific commander, Admiral Paparo, says we should think of that as a be ready by date, not a go by date. Next question. What do you think about possibly using the Hyundai's Hyundai Heavy Industries facilities in the Philippines in Subic Bay for refit and repair. It's a South Korean company, but in the Philippines, and technically it's a commercial venture.
Two things. The first, I just fully agree with the idea. South Korea should establish the shipyard outside of the Korean Peninsula, not for the more MRO service, but for the scenario so war breaks out in Korean Peninsula. Once the North Korea invaded South Korea, North Korea will destroy the older air base and the shipyard. That decrease South Korea's sustainability in terms of waging war. In that case, we needed to build or to repair South Korean ship outside of the Korean Peninsula. So not only for providing more MRO service and building more ships on top of the South Korean capability to build the ships providing MRO service in Korean Peninsula, but also for the time of a war, we needed some other defense industry base outside of the Korean Peninsula. So I think the Hyundai Heavy Industry Philippines is a good idea, and we have to expand our shipyard beyond the Philippines and the other side. So I think that's a good idea.
Very interesting idea. You mentioned some examples of ships that Korea could possibly build for the United States. Korea currently builds ships for other countries, right? And
Right.
Can you give some idea of who the customers are and what kinds of products those customers are asking for? What kinds of ships?
Actually, I don't think the South Korea will build the high-end cutting-edge technology ships like Aegis destroyer you built, but South Korea will build the low and middle class or the support ships. For example, we built the support ship for the United Kingdom, and we built the middle class this frigate or the corvette ships for the Philippines or Vietnam, because Southeast Asian countries. So at the end of the day, if we provided the MRO service for the United States, it is equipped to the destroyer, we might be able to build the destroyer for the United States as well in the future. I wish.
In your presentation, you cited a quote by President Trump to the effect that there will be no tariffs on South Korea for things that are manufactured in the United States. The question is, how can we trust that there will be no tariffs if Korean products are built in the United States, given that there are a lot of policy changes in the Trump administration?
Yeah, that's a good point. Nobody knows. But I don't know, just because that's a product from the United soil, there's no tariff, I guess, at least. But back then, under the Biden administration IRA Act, the South Korea already moved so many semiconductor factories in the United States because the government promised to subsidize for that factory. But under the second Trump administration, Trump is trying to eliminate that subsidize for that semiconductor factory in the United States. But tariff is for the foreign product. So I don't think that legally speaking, just I don't think Trump can give some tariff on the product from the United States. I don't think so.
South Korea has announced a $10 billion investment plan to upgrade Busan Port by 2045, aiming to make it the world's largest container handling hub. How difficult will it be to convert an existing facility from commercial to military manufacturing?
Which one? Let me read that again. Oh, okay.
I'm 232.
10 billion investment plan to upgrade the Busan port, aiming to make it world's largest container handling hub. How difficult will it be? Oh, I don't think. Yeah.
I think the spirit of the question is if the more you make a port suitable or a shipyard suitable for commercial production, does this make it more and more difficult then to switch to military production in an emergency?
I would say we needed to differentiate between the modernized ports and modernized
Manufacturing.
shipyard.
Yeah, yeah.
Shipyard is related to the capability to build a ship. Port capability is to handling the containers. We needed to differentiate the two concepts. Decided to $10 billion investment plan to upgrade the Busan port is related to how we handle the containers, not building a ship. But that's a good point, because I think once we can use just Northern Sea route, the Busan port geopolitically, the Busan port will be the Singapore. If you draw the line from the Europe to the China or the other country, that Busan port is the exact middle of the sea route. United States cannot use the seaports of the China. China has so many big seaports along the East Coast, but I don't think you can use it. So what's the alternative? Busan port is in the top 10 world largest seaport. So Korean Strait and will be the Malacca Strait. Busan port will be the Singapore if we can use the Northern Sea route.
How is South Korea financing its port development projects?
I'm sorry, I'm not a figure money person.
Okay, no problem. How does the North Korean naval and shipbuilding capability compare with that of South Korea?
Oh, this is a very good question too. Just back then I didn't worry. I was not worried about the North Korean shipbuilding capability and the capability of the North Korean naval ship. But recently, North Korea launched the North Korean version of the Aegis ship. I think because of the strong tie between North Korea and Russia, Russia provides so many technology to build modern destroyer to the North Korea. Even when just I don't worry about the North Korean conventional naval power in comparison to the South Korea, but what I'm worried about is they are saying they can launch ballistic missile on the new launched destroyer with the warhead. South Korea is defending North Korea, the nuclear missile, focusing on the land-launched missile. But once North Korea has some capability that they can launch the nuclear missile at sea, that changes the game. Another thing is the North Koreans' nuclear-powered submarine. That gives another rule of the game, because that means North Korea have their second strike capability. Once North Korea attacked South Korea with a nuclear missile, United States, hopefully, United States will attack the North Korea with a commitment of extended deterrence. But even when United States eliminate all their North Korean nuclear capability on land, North Korea will have another nuclear warhead on the sea, which is second strike capability, which will deter United States to retaliate the North Korea for the nuclear attack to the South Korea. So that's what I'm worrying about, not conventional naval capability.
Do you have any other comments on the recent DPRK warship launches, and maybe including the fact that one of the destroyers sunk evidently at launch?
Yeah, I've already said, but nobody knows how capable the North Korea newly launched the destroyer. But they are saying, they are arguing, they are asserting, just we have this kind of a capability. Nobody knows. But the appearance, I think they have kind of capability.
Okay, any other questions?
Huh?
I think there's room in the line. Does the Trump reciprocal tariff policy have a significant effect on Korea's shipbuilding industry?
Oh, not yet. Oh, I think there is significant effect on the Korean shipbuilding. Just South Korean shipbuilding companies stock skyrocketing thanks to the Trump's reciprocal tariff policy. So even though others go down, only the defense industry and specifically shipbuilding industry is skyrocketing. Thank you, Trump.
Do we have an idea of how the likely winner of the presidential election next month might react to your idea that South Korea ought to proactively offer more strongly, perhaps, that South Korea playing a role in helping to augment U.S. naval shipbuilding capability as a way of giving South Korea more cards, as you've put it?
First of all, nobody knows who will win and next month, but whoever will be elected, in my opinion, just shipbuilding capability, that's the only card they can use for the negotiation with the United States. Whoever win the election, the shipbuilding, the next president will suggest we will help the United States in terms of shipbuilding and MRO service.
Okay, we're about out of time and we've gone through all the questions. So let me thank Dr. Bay and also thank all you members of the audience for listening and some of you for submitting questions. The next webinar in this series will be on Monday, June 9th, starting at 11:30 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time. The speaker will be Maria Lara De Angelis, who is a resident Kelly Fellow at Pacific Forum, an affiliated researcher with the East-West Center, and also a senior advisor with Track 2 Asia. Her topic will be Rethinking Denuclearization, Breaking the Narrative Deadlock in U.S.-North Korea Talks. Until then, hui hou.